Hi everyone, today I wanted to talk about the best books to read if you dream of being a writer, author, or if you just have the hobby of making stories. I've always thought that anybody could publish a book, anyone could write a story, anybody can. However, not everyone could do it well. So it's really important to improve your skills over time. But sometimes, even though we do improve our skills over time naturally or by practicing, sometimes it just is not enough. Sometimes it's just way, way better to have a guide to help you do that because stories are complex sometimes. Characters, settings, plots, it could be really crazy. So first of all, we have Strategic Series Author. This book I actually got as a gift from a subscriber. Thank you for using my Amazon wishlist. I really love this book. I've been wanting it for a long time because I love novels. However, because my stories run so deep and so long, I just need to make it a series. Break that story into different books because there's just too many pages to have it in one. And if you want to write a good series, sometimes you just need to have a book that'll really guide you on how to do it properly. And I think this is one of the best books out there on how to write a series effectively and efficiently. Which, by the way, if you are writing a series, it's really important to plan it out. Because if you want it to make sense and have a really great ending, you need to make sure that you plan everything properly, which I'll talk more about later. But next up is Full-Time Author, How to Build, Grow, and Maintain a Successful Writing Career That You Love. I also got this book as a gift from a subscriber. Thank you so much. I've been wanting this book for a while now because it is hard to be an author. It is so difficult, especially if you want it to be your career, because you need to find a way to make it so that you actually have income and could sell your books to an audience. It's a lot of hard work. When you are an author or a writer of some sorts, it feels like you're always working. Like, even when I try to sleep, I can't because I'm thinking about ideas to put into plots. Like, I try to not live in reality. I very much live in my fictional worlds that I'm making up because it is so fun to build worlds, make characters, and it just really does take over your life. So it's really important to find how you could turn this passion into income so you could do what you love. Another good book to read would be The Art of Character. It's not my favorite help book for authors or writers, but I thought I would include it because it is one of the first self-help books I've gotten for how to write better. And I think there is a lot of stuff in this book that will be great info for a lot of people who want to improve their writing, improve their characters, improve their stories. But speaking of characters, I got this book a few years ago called Build Better Characters, and although I feel like I know how to make characters for my stories, I know how to make them all different, I feel like you can never have enough advice. There's always a way to improve something, Like, maybe you think you're the best writer ever, but it's so easy to find out that there's actually better ways of doing things in your writing. And it's really important to make sure your characters are really fleshed out. It's really a bad sign, in my opinion, to have a really simple character because, to me, characters should have backstory. They should have, a mind of their own. They should be written out as if they're a real person so that the reader could really relate to the character or at least feel as though the character is real. Because nobody, I think, enjoys reading stories where the characters feel fake or they feel like they aren't fully there. It's terrible when you read a book and the characters feel empty. I feel like you should want to have your readers at the edge of their seat, especially if you're writing a series, because then it'll make them want to get the next book. So I would recommend writing a killer thriller. I don't plan on writing any murder mysteries. However, it's really important to know how to keep readers entertained. And I feel like this is a really good book because even if you're not going to be writing a killer thriller, murder mystery, or whatever, suspense is really, really important. From my perspective, at least, when I read a story, I want it to give me emotion. If I read your story and I get angry or sad, or if I feel like my heart racing. That's a good sign. So if you're writing a really sad story, learn how to make sadness really show in your story to make the reader feel it. If your story is very suspenseful, on edge, thrilling, make sure you write it in a way that makes the reader really feel it. So they're on the edge of their seat and they're just as excited as you to get to the end of the story and find out what happens. Reading is very much emotional. A lot of people put down books the second they're bored. A lot of people struggle to even pick up a book. So it's really important to know how to keep readers entertained. But that is why I recommend writing a killer thriller, because it gives a lot of advice in it that I feel like could be used for not only thriller stories, but for a lot of stories. Because a lot of the same exact tips could be used, but for different book genres. You may have to tweak it to make it work for your story, but it's still really, really great advice. But this is why I want to also mention plot planning. So earlier before, I did mention planning, and I think I did mention plots. I put lots of stress on that as well because obviously characters matter, and the way you write matters. Everything matters. But the plot, just from my personal experience and just my opinions in general, plan your plots out. Get some paper, write it out. If you have to draft it, edit it, whatever, do that before you actually write your story. This will save you in making really great foreshadowing, suspense, pulling the story together, making plot twists, all these really, really fun things. What I've noticed is that a lot of the stories I read where the author just writes without planning anything, there's lots of plot holes because they didn't plan anything. They just started the story and then went on with it. But because of that, they missed out on a lot of things they could have filled in. And that's why I wanted to mention Harry Potter: A History of Magic. I bought this book on eBay secondhand. A lot of people do not support J.K. Rowling, but you could buy the book on eBay. I think this book is really important to have because it shows just how much effort has to go into making a story. J.K. Rowling worked on Harry Potter for like 5 years. There is parts of this book where they show her plot planning notebook papers of what she was thinking of planning for the plot. Like the stuff that is happening in book 1, well, she was already thinking how that would lead up to the last book. Every detail matters. Every character matters. No, Harry Potter is not a perfect book series. There could be a lot of criticism put into it, especially because we've come a long way since it was released. However, Harry Potter is very iconic. It's a very loved book series, and although it may have its flaws, it is adored by the masses, okay? I love Harry Potter. But I just thought it would be really good to mention this book, because you will see how much research goes into making a good story. You don't make a good story overnight. A lot of authors work on their stories years ahead of time to make sure the plot is perfect, the characters are perfect. Writing is not a simple thing. It is very, very intense. It is very much a passion. It has to really take up a lot of your time. Apparently, J.K. Rowling worked on Harry Potter for like 5 years before actually writing the books, and I find that insane because the stories I've been working on, I'm currently, I think, on like the 4th year of making the story, the plot, everything. Because if you want to make art you truly love and are passionate about, you need to work really hard on it. You need to know what you want to put into your story. But yeah, writing is very time consuming. It's very much mentally exhausting as well. Like, I've literally woken up before in the middle of the night just because I had an idea. And I was like, I have to write it down. Like, where's the notebook? Because when you're world building, when you're making characters, when you're making a plot, when you want it to be very in-depth and have plot twists and foreshadowing and a very epic ending, everything matters, you know? Like, I've been working on this for years now, and if you're an author, if you're a writer, if you want to be a writer, like, you'll probably understand. But don't take this information and think it's overwhelming. Because, yeah, it can be overwhelming. But sometimes, even though it's overwhelming, you still have fun. Like, yeah, I'm, like, drowning in ideas. However, it's fun to make worlds. I used to only want to make stories that I thought would sell, but at the end of the day, You can't make what you think will sell. You can't make what will please people. You have to make what you want to make, and then the people that will like it will attract towards it. Readers could tell when things are cash grabs. Readers could tell when your heart isn't into it. Readers can tell when you're not passionate towards what you do. So if you're going to write, make sure you pick a story that you know for a fact you're in love with. Make characters that you love. Grow attached to your story, your passions, your purposes for the story, what your goals are, how you want to end the story. Hyperfixate on your writing like it literally is your whole world. I didn't choose for that. I've just always been like this towards writing ever since I really got into it when I was like 14. But basically, if you want to make a good story, your heart has to be in it. So yeah, I hope all of this helped. And I would really love to talk more about my stories, but I don't like to spoil things. So yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!